For a long time, Arizona was the final destination of the American dream. It offered peace and affordability in contrast to California's chaos and rapidly growing cities. But as we enter 2026, that vision is no longer what it used to be. Across the state, from the endless suburbs surrounding Phoenix to the scenic mountain retreats near Flagstaff, the housing market has hit a brick wall. Rising interest rates, hidden costs, and insurance and cooling expenses are now a headache. This desert, once one of the hottest real estate markets in the country, is now cooling dramatically. Builders are putting projects on hold. Homeowners are relentlessly slashing prices to attract interest in homes that were once snapped up. And the investors who once flooded the desert like a gold rush, now they're quietly slipping out the back door on tiptoe. Today, we'll count down the 10 Arizona cities where home prices and rents are expected to crash by 2026. This list isn't your typical market analysis. It's a desert reckoning where the water has run out, the insurance has been canceled, and dreams have evaporated. Stay with us, especially until number 1, because the city at the center of this collapse is probably not where you expect it to be, and the crisis there has the potential to change all the national headlines. Before we get to the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and turn on notifications for more content like this. Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you're ready, let's dive into Arizona's crumbling real estate market. Number 10. Prescott. We start our list at number 10 with Prescott, Arizona, known as a retiree hotspot. Nestled among pine-covered hills with cool mountain breezes and a historic city center, it was an oasis for those seeking to escape Phoenix's heat and traffic. It was a postcard version of a quiet, picturesque, and peaceful life. However, as 2026 approaches, the colors of this postcard are fading fast. The numbers don't lie. From 2020 to 2023, home values in Prescott skyrocketed at a staggering rate. Median prices jumped nearly 70% and eventually surpassed $650,000. But the laws of gravity apply to the economy too. That climb was unsustainable. By late 2025, prices had already fallen back to around $530,000, and analysts say the correction isn't over yet. Current projections predict a further decline of 10% to 15% by the end of 2026. What was the real problem? Simply put, there are no buyers left. And it's not just home prices, it's the cost of living inflation crushing fixed-income retirees. Rising property insurance premiums, increasing site fees, and soaring maintenance costs have crushed budgets. Those homes that once symbolized comfort and security have now become a financial burden, straining monthly budgets. As a result, many long-term residents are selling under pressure. Sometimes they walk away from the table with less than they originally paid. Add to that the mistake of aggressive construction. The massive developments in Chino Valley and Prescott Valley, marketed as ready for retirement, now stand partially empty. Sun-faded for sale signs stand as silent witnesses to a boom that cooled off very quickly. Local realtors admit that the open house events, once drawing crowds from outside the state, now echo with silence. The cash buyers who kept the market afloat are now either demanding a 25% discount or walking away from the deal entirely. Prescott's struggle goes beyond the economy. It's a generational shift. The wave of migration that turned the city into a retirement hub is reversing. Seniors are being pushed out by rising costs and insurance headaches, while young families can't afford to move in. The town that promised peace now teeters on uncertain ground. Number 9. Gilbert. At number 9 on our list is Gilbert, once the shining star of Arizona's suburban success story. For decades, this Phoenix suburb was a symbol of stability and growth. With its brand new schools, carefully planned neighborhoods, and a housing market that shrugged off every slowdown, many believed this place was untouchable. But as we enter 2026, Gilbert's problem is slowly coming to light. During the pandemic, home values here skyrocketed. Between 2020 and 2022, prices increased by nearly 70%. Families fleeing California flocked here, lured by warm weather and the promise of affordable luxury. But that promise unraveled at a surprising pace. The median home price fell from around $640,000 to below $520,000. That's a sharp 19% drop in just 1 year. Homes that sparked bidding wars in 2021 now sit unsold for months. Sellers are slashing asking prices by $80,000 or more just to generate interest. This is not a simple correction. It is the result of a deeper financial problem. Gilbert's economy relies heavily on construction, education, and healthcare, and all of these sectors are currently tightening their belts. At the same time, inflation is eating away at household disposable income, while property taxes and insurance premiums have risen at alarming rates. Mathematics has become impossible for many residents. A home that used to cost around $2,400 per month, mortgage plus expenses, now approaches $4,000 when high interest rates and insurance increases are added. Even families earning six-figure incomes, over $100,000 per year, are starting to fall behind. For a city built on the middle class's dream of upward mobility, these numbers no longer add up. Builders are responding by pulling back. Building permits have dropped by roughly 35%, and construction in some sub-districts has halted. Investors are also feeling the pressure. Short-term rental, Airbnb owners are watching occupancy rates fall below 55%. Profits have been wiped out almost overnight. Gilbert may not be exploding overnight, but beneath those manicured lawns and quiet cul-de-sacs, a slow and steady correction is underway. And this correction is eroding the wealth of many families. Number 8. Flagstaff. At number 8 on our list is Flagstaff, Arizona's exclusive getaway, known more for its pine trees and snow-capped peaks than its cacti. For a long time, it seemed like an untouchable fortress, immune to the housing crises plaguing the rest of the state. It was a high-altitude refuge where the wealthy bought second homes, spent ski vacations, and escaped the summer heat. But as we enter 2026, the walls of that mountain fortress are crumbling. Economic gravity has finally reached this city above the clouds. The numbers show that the collapse here is not just a correction, but a luxury trap closing in. According to Redfin data, the median home price hovers around $700,000, which is a full 75% higher than what a local family can afford. Prices that peaked above $800,000 have already melted by about 17%, and analysts predict the decline will continue through 2026. The real problem here is a dangerous dependency, second homeowners and investors. Nearly 40% of transactions in Flagstaff involve second home buyers. This was great when the economy was booming. But when the national economy tightens, the first assets to be liquidated are always vacation homes. That's exactly what we're seeing now. Inventory is up 22% from last year. The short-term rental Airbnb market is losing ground. Flagstaff, which shone as a remote work paradise during the pandemic, has lost its high-income tenants amid calls to return to offices. Those luxury mountain homes that once rented for $2,000 a week now sit empty. The math no longer adds up for investors. The price/rent ratio has exceeded 30. In other words, buying a home and renting it out to recoup the investment has become a pipe dream that would take decades to realize. Moreover, the hidden costs of mountain living are no longer hidden. In older homes, winter heating costs, snow removal services, and frozen pipe maintenance costs, and of course, insurance. In this area, with a high risk of forest fires, insurance companies are either canceling policies or doubling their prices. The monthly cost of owning a modest $600,000 home, including taxes and insurance, exceeds $5,000. The result? The city's locals have already priced themselves out and left the area. Investors are fleeing like rats abandoning a sinking ship. Mortgage delinquencies have quietly risen by 10%. Flagstaff is learning the hard way that the price of being privileged is being left alone in a crisis. The silence under the pine trees comes not from tranquility but from the absence of buyers. Number 7. Tucson. From the cold of the north to the stormy heat of the south, we descend to Tucson. For years, it was marketed as Arizona's best-kept secret. It was Phoenix's cheaper, quieter, culturally richer, and bohemian alternative. The slogan, "Can't afford a home in Phoenix? Come to Tucson," drew thousands here. During the pandemic, home prices skyrocketed by an astonishing 55% in just 2 years. Other issues exist. By 2026, this affordable alternative narrative gave way to a harsh financial blow. Home values in Tucson have fallen about 15% from their peak, and the decline is accelerating. Inventory is up 35% from last year. This is a critical signal that sellers are flooding the market, but buyers are nowhere to be found. But the real problem is a factor many people don't factor in: nature and insurance. It's not just hot here, it's a monsoon region. Severe flash floods and increased wildfire threats have sent insurance premiums in Pima County skyrocketing. In many neighborhoods, the annual insurance cost now exceeds $6,000. The monthly payment for a reasonable $400,000 home, when insurance and taxes are added, reaches $3,800. With the median household income in the area around $63,000, these figures are mathematically impossible. The gap between income and home prices is at historic levels. Home prices have reached nearly 9 times the local income. This imbalance has triggered a wave of foreclosures. Foreclosure filings in Tucson are up 30% compared to last year. This is not just a statistic. It means thousands of families losing their dreams. The situation is not rosy for investors either. Those who bought old houses around the university and converted them into student housing or Airbnb properties are now struggling with occupancy rates below 50%. Investor purchases have fallen by 45% on an annual basis. In other words, the money from outside that was inflating the market has dried up. Tucson is a living example that affordable does not mean low cost. A house may be cheap, but insuring it, cooling it, and paying its taxes, that's the part that blows the budget. Behind those price reduction signs you see on the city streets lies the story of homeowners who lost their battle with nature and the economy. Number 6, Mesa. The massive anchor on the east side of the Phoenix metro is coming to Mesa. For decades, this place was known as the practical choice. It wasn't as trendy as Scottsdale, nor as expensive as downtown Phoenix. It was safe, family-oriented, and most importantly, if you were a teacher, a nurse, or a blue-collar worker, it was still a place where you could buy the American dream. During the pandemic, this reputation for being affordable turned Mesa into an investor magnet. Investors flocked here because homes here seemed like a steal compared to California or Seattle. Developers flooded areas like Eastmark, Gateway, and Power Ranch with thousands of new homes, assuming the population would grow forever. But what happened in Mesa in 2026 is the story of how that practical choice turned into a ruthless financial trap. The numbers are alarming. Home prices in Mesa have fallen by about 20% since their 2022 peak. Worse still, the decline shows no signs of stopping. Homes that were once described as grab it before someone else does are now plastered with desperate signs like seller pays closing costs and will lower the interest rate buy down. But the real issue isn't the price tag, it's the cost of keeping the home afloat. The cost of living in Mesa has quietly but fatally increased. Due to inefficient air conditioners and poor insulation in older homes, summer electricity bills now feel like a second mortgage payment. Add to that the increases in water bills and local infrastructure costs. And insurance, Mesa, as an area prone to storms and heat risks, has come under the radar of insurance companies. Insurance premiums, which used to be $1,800 per year, have now skyrocketed to over $5,000 for many properties. When a 7% interest rate, rising taxes, and exploding insurance costs combine, that house that was affordable in 2020 has turned into a money trap that could bankrupt a middle-class family by 2026. Investors are also fleeing. Apartment complexes and build-to-rent projects have flooded the city, causing rental supply to explode. Landlords are running one-month free campaigns to find tenants, which is crushing small investors. Most of those for sale signs you see on the streets of Mesa don't just belong to people who want to move. They are the silent cry of families whose finances no longer add up, whose salaries are eroded by inflation, and whose homes are losing value faster than their mortgages. Number 5, Chandler. Just south of Mesa, we arrive at Chandler, Arizona's jewel in the crown of technology. This is the state's so-called Silicon Desert. With its semiconductor factories, massive data centers, and an army of engineers earning six-figure salaries, Chandler seemed like an unstoppable engine of prosperity. If you buy a house here, you'll never lose money because technology never stops, they said. But 2026 is the year that arrogance comes back to haunt us. The tech sector may not have stopped, but hiring did. Major tech companies froze hiring, scaled back operations, or moved some departments overseas. When this pool of high-salary buyers dried up, the ground beneath Chandler's inflated housing market also vanished. The numbers are clear. Median home prices have already fallen by around 16%, but the real bleeding is in the luxury segment. Million-dollar homes in neighborhoods like Ocotillo and Fulton Ranch, once status symbols, now sit unsold for months. Contractors are slashing prices by $100,000 or even more in a single stroke to clear these luxury inventories. Chandler's problem is that he is a victim of his own success. Everything was so perfect and new that costs were adjusted accordingly. The energy costs of large, air-conditioned, pool-equipped homes, the property taxes on high-value homes, and insurance premiums in a storm-prone area. Even engineers' salaries are eroding in the face of inflation and these fixed costs. Furthermore, the corporate rental market has collapsed. Investors had bought homes to rent to executives coming to Intel or other giants, but now those executives aren't coming, or companies are cutting budgets and directing them to cheaper housing. Chandler was a market built on momentum. Everyone had bet that prices would rise forever. Now the music has stopped, tech giants have hit the brakes, and Chandler homeowners are left holding the bag with their depreciating, expensive deeds. Innovation may still thrive in the Silicon Desert, but the real estate wealth era is officially over. Number 4. Scottsdale heading north from Chandler, we arrive at Arizona's showcase, Scottsdale. For decades, this has been more than just a city, it's been a lifestyle brand. With world-class golf courses, luxury shopping centers, and mansions overlooking the desert, Scottsdale fully deserved its title as the Beverly Hills of the desert. The mantra was simple: if you can afford Scottsdale, you never lose. This belief sent prices soaring. During the pandemic, global investors and cash-rich outsiders poured billions into the area's lock-and-go luxury homes and gated communities. But in 2026, that you-never-lose belief hit a hard financial wall. Home values in Scottsdale plummeted by 18% in just 1 year. However, the real issue here isn't the sale price. The issue is the cost of ownership. The price of a luxurious lifestyle is no longer just the mortgage payment. Insurance companies have recalculated their risks in this ultra-luxurious, heat-exposed, storm-prone region. Luxury home insurance policies, which used to cost $6,000 a year, now push $15,000, and worse still, condo fees. Scottsdale's famous gated communities are hitting homeowners with tens of thousands of dollars in special assessment bills to repair aging infrastructure and storm damage. These costs are shaking even the wealthy. In neighborhoods like DC Ranch and Silverleaf, once accessible only by invitation, mansions with seven-figure price tags are quietly dropping below $800,000 and still failing to find buyers. The time on the market in the luxury segment has exceeded 200 days, so a house goes on the market and sits there for nearly a year, rotting away. Investors? They've long since vanished. Institutional buyers and speculators who saw Scottsdale as a luxury playground have pulled out of the market. Left behind are overstretched homeowners struggling with mounting maintenance costs each passing month. Scottsdale may still look glamorous from the outside, but inside, behind those closed doors, the myth of luxury's immunity is crumbling. You thought wealth could protect you from risk. Scottsdale became risk itself in 2026. Number 3. QueenCreek. At number 3 on the list is one of Arizona's fastest rising and now hardest hitting stars, QueenCreek. This was the rural outskirts of the Phoenix metro area. Developers marketed it as a luxury agricultural paradise. A dream where farm life meets modern luxury, where you can ride horses and live in spacious homes on large plots of land. Prices doubled at a pace unseen almost anywhere else in the country. People from California thought they would live like kings here, but the laws of physics apply to economics too. What goes up vertically must come down, and QueenCreek is now in freefall. The problem here is valuation. Median home prices had skyrocketed above $600,000, and $1 million ranch homes had become the norm. But today, bank appraisals don't support these prices. and deals are falling apart at the closing table. There is even more alarming data. Cancellation rates. The cancellation rate for new construction contracts has approached 20%. Do you know what that means? 1 out of every 5 buyers risking losing their deposit realizes the home's value is lower than the contract price and walks away from the table. People are losing their money before they even move into the home. QueenCreek's biggest enemy is geography. It's too far from the center. The cost of living so far from the city and business centers, combined with gas prices and the necessity of commuting to the office, became unbearable. Add to that a 60% increase in mortgage payments and the energy costs of cooling massive homes, and the luxury ranch life suddenly turned into a luxury prison. The luxury inventory on the market, homes over $1 million, doubled because it's impossible to find buyers at those prices with these interest rates. Fix and flip investors left the area as their profit margins evaporated. Permits for pool construction and home additions fell by 40%, indicating that even current residents are cutting back on spending and running out of cash. QueenCreek was like Icarus flying too close to the sun. Entry prices were artificially inflated to such an extent that the current correction is painful. The exit door is closing rapidly, and those left behind are trapped in those modern farmhouses that are losing value. Number 2, Phoenix. And now we come to the epicenter of a massive crisis, Phoenix. This was the poster child for Sun Belt growth. For years, it was fueled by waves of migration from California, the Midwest, and the Northeast. Builders covered the desert in concrete, investors snapped up homes by the dozen, every graph pointed upward. However, in 2026, the Phoenix market hit the harsh limits of excessive growth. Median home prices fell by 15% from their peak, and the decline continues not like a slowing train, but like a truck with blown brakes. The biggest problem here is the investor exodus. Phoenix was the playground for institutional investors and iBuyers during the pandemic. Now that game is over. Investors whose profits are melting away and who are being crushed by interest rates are liquidating their portfolios. Neighborhoods that once saw bidding wars have now turned into graveyards of unsellable homes. Foreclosure filings have already increased by 20%. This is the first foam of a wave rising from the depths. Furthermore, the city is buckling under the weight of its own success. Increased traffic, crowded highways, and the heat island effect. In a city that doesn't cool down even at night due to urban sprawl, air conditioning bills are no longer a luxury but a cost of survival. And this cost is eating into homeowners' budgets. Phoenix's decline may not appear to be a sudden collapse. It is more of a painful grinding process. Every month, prices drop a little more. Every month, hopes diminish a little more. This massive city under the sun is no longer a symbol of opportunity, but of exhaustion. Number 1. Buckeye and the top spot, number 1 on the list. This is where Arizona's housing crisis has taken its most frightening and tangible form, Buckeye. Until recently, Buckeye was celebrated as America's suburban future. Developers sold visions of high-tech, planned communities and unlimited growth in the middle of the desert. Prices doubled between 2019 and 2022, outpacing every other city in the state. But in 2026, Buckeye hit not a wall, but a reality: no water. This is not a metaphor. State officials released a shocking report stating that the region's groundwater basin could not support the planned growth, and it officially halted new residential projects dependent on groundwater. This is a death sentence for a real estate market. Land without a water certificate is worth zero. The result? Complete chaos. Home values have already plummeted by 25%. This is the steepest decline on our list. Inventory has surged to 4 times previous levels. Investors and homeowners are scrambling to get out before the water crisis headlines get worse. Builders are offering $50,000 discounts, paying closing costs, offering free upgrades, but they still can't find buyers. Half-finished ghost towns. Sleepy towns with only houses, no parks, schools, or shopping centers. Those who bought homes in Buckeye didn't just lose their money. They invested in a future that never materialized. This is the breaking point where optimism turned to denial and speculation took precedence over sustainability. Buckeye is a warning sign not just for Arizona but for all of America. You can't bargain with nature. When the water runs out, the game is over. Here's the picture: from Prescott's disappointed retirees, to Scottsdale's emptying luxury mansions, to Tucson's flood-ravaged streets, and finally, to Buckeye's parched dreams. What we're seeing in Arizona isn't a simple market correction. It's a full-scale reset. Rising insurance costs, water restrictions, 7% interest rates, and exhausted buyers have turned the desert dream into a desert reckoning. Prices have far outpaced local wages, investors are scrambling for the same exit, and nature is finally calling in its dues. This doesn't mean Arizona is completely finished. However, buying a home in one of these markets in 2026 isn't just about getting a deed. It's about signing up for a series of invisible risks: climate, infrastructure, insurance, and the question, will my city still be livable in 10 years? These things aren't written in the glossy brochures. If you're considering investing in these areas, ask yourself, would I invest everything I have in a place everyone else is fleeing? Which of these cities do you think could recover and which are lost forever? Share your thoughts in the comments. To keep discussing the facts based solely on data, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next crisis report. Keep your money safe.